any of your questions, I'll check them after the end of the presentation. Okay. So anyone, can you hear me? Oh,
Yep.
you could make a sign or whatever.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So let's try to share. No, this one. So anyone can see the presentation, more or less. For example, I saw that Fernando is only listening. He can watch a lot. So don't care about it, Fernando, because my presentations always are a lot of drawings and pics, and there aren't too much information to read. So there's no problem if you can see a presentation, and if the session is recorded, as Safia said, so you could watch it later. So let's start developing a sustainable business model. I don't know if you work in a sustainable business, or you're trying to make one, or your business is any kind of business, but you're interested to be more sustainable in it. So first of all, I want to share how is our vision of sustainability, and what's the big issue here is that sustainability is not only about environmental issues. When we talk and we have conversations about sustainability, mostly of them end talking about climate change and talking about biodiversity or natural spaces or waste. But there are a lot of things more than environmental issues. When we talk about sustainability, we have to include social aspects too, because it's as important as the environment. The people are the same, all the same as important as the environment. So we have to take into account, when we talk about sustainability, the people that work with us in our business. For example, I'll talk about it later, but the people that is in our business, the people that surrounds our business, and how we interact with them. So there's not only the green, it's only the social part. And at last, and not less important, we have to think that that if we want a sustainable business, it has to earn money. It's as important to care about social and environmental issues as to care about the money that we gain with our business. So we have to think those three. That's as we talk the three legs of sustainability, and we don't have to lost any of them, and we have to have the three of them in our point of view. Because if you work more in economical than in social, or forget environmental, there is not a sustainable business. Okay, so explain that, I want to show you the structure of what I'm going to talk about. And this presentation is more or less four parts, one bigger than other, but we are going to talk about what are we doing, from whom are we working for, with who, and how are we going to do things to have a sustainable business. So in my business as an environmental consultant, we designed as a tool that's called Sustainability Mapping Toolkit. That's the one that you have here. It's based on Business Model Canvas, but we thought that Business Model Canvas has one problem, that it only considers economic issues of the business model. So we try to create a a tool to work with a business that takes into account the three legs that I told you before: environmental, social, and also economic parts of the business. So that's it. And I'm not going to explain all of them in this masterclass, because it's I normally need the smallest workshops that I do are more or less 4 hours, and usually are 4 days, not 4 hours. So I'm going to try to explain the most important things here, and how can you apply them to your own businesses. Okay, so well, if you want, there's a web page when you can download this map. It's free online, so you can have it all if you want it. I tell you, I write it down later in the chat, so anyone can have the web page. So starting with it, if you see, it's difficult. No, I forgot that I have the tool to point. Okay. Here, I don't know if you can see the point, the laser point. The tool starts here in this part, life cycle assessment, goes then with environmental and social trends, the two bars in the sides, and then we can work the inside of the map as in the order as you prefer, and I recommend to be as easier as you can. So try to do the easiest way for you, but not doing the center, the value proposition, the with triple bottom line and an aspect, because this is the last one. And the red part is going to be done before key partners, key activity and resources, and the stakeholders part. But I think it looks a bit strange at the beginning. Sometimes the people scared and tell me that it looks a bit scary at the beginning before working with it, but I promise that it's not too hard. So the first part, I'm going to go backwards and forwards with the presentation, but the first part that I told you, that's the purple part, life cycle assessment. In life cycle assessment, the things that we want to analyze, and the things what you have to do is, what are you doing in your business? You have to think about how your business is working as much as you can and as much as you know. I know that normally when you design a business, you know how to do the business perfect, or how to try to do your business perfect, but sometimes you don't have information about what happens when you end to do your service, or what happens when you sell your product. What does the client do with it? For example, sometimes you will find surprises, and you also don't know what happens when the client doesn't need your product anymore, and what things they do with it. They throw it away, they send it to a landfill, they burn it. You don't know. Usually you don't know. And it's more difficult to know what happens before you start to do your business. There are some issues that come to your business that you need, for example, materials to create a product that you don't normally know where they come from and how they travel to its origin to your business, for example. So you have to investigate a little and create like a process map. That's mixed with a life cycle. That's what I'm going to try to explain now. To explain in an easiest point of view for you what's happening with your business before your business, and after your business. As much as information you know, it would be easier for you to find environmental, social, and economical issues to resolve and to take into account for make a sustainable business. Okay. So I don't know if you know the life cycle concept. That's why I tried here. Life cycle concept. It's a way to approach any business that takes into account all the life cycle of it. It includes, and it's like that circle that you see here. The first part is extraction and processing of raw materials, the things that are needed normally and usually so far away from you, and where they come from, where it's transferred to the product and assembly phase, then the distribution and logistics that more or less you always know more or less how are your logistics and distribution. Then the phase of use, what the client do with what the client does with your product or service. And finally, the end of life. What happens, as I told you before, when the client doesn't need your product or service anymore. Usually, this process and this life cycle is a line, not a cycle. But now with the circular economy and all of that kind of stuff, we are trying to change the linear process in a circular process. And that's why recycle is included here in the life cycle, because sometimes recycle could help to reduce the problem of extraction and processing, because you can use recycled materials for your product. So that's why a circular economy is based on. So that's the easiest way is to look like a line, but now business is changing, and now they are trying to be as circular as much. So having more or less clear what life cycle is, the thing that you have to create in the first step is a map with every step that works and that what happens in your business from the beginning to the end, as much as you can, as much detail as you can. In our workshops, the things that we used to do, for example, we work always with post-its and sticky notes, and we put in each step or each process in one post-it, and we don't know what happens, but we know that something happened, but not what happens. We put another sticky note with a question mark in the place that we know something happens here. I don't know what it is, I don't know where it came from, but something happens here that maybe it's important to know in the future, not now. It's a way to see and to have a full point of view of your process and your business. Okay, more or less, it's more or less clear, I think. So when we have this, and this is what to do and what we do in our business, the next step we have to do is to analyze the surroundings of our business. We have, I'll remind you again here, those two bars in the sizes, the environmental and social trends. As I've said, we work with sticky notes, and we put a social or environmental trend in each sticky note. So we have to analyze the surroundings of our business, and we have to analyze which trends, what is going to happen in the world, what is going to happen in our country, in our region, that could have some impacts in our business in the future, long term or short term, but we have to analyze it. In social and environmental trends, the way to find them or to check them, it's more or less the same, only you have to change the kind of search that you use on Google for start. And you could find tons of information in international web pages like the European Union Sustainable Development Strategy, for example, if you want to know about what's going to happen around sustainability. European Union also has another web page about social trends also. The same with the United Nations. And that's for the big part, the big issue, what's going to happen in the world. And when we get near approach about our business, then start with from information about our own government publications. Some ministries, they have a lot of information open and available for everyone, so it's interesting to check them sometimes. Just read. Sometimes we forgot to read. I found that we are always checking easier Twitter, for example, than reading real newspapers and real information with big articles. Sometimes we have to read those and check what's going on and what's happening, and because sometimes you could find really important trends that are going to be happening. For example, I'm going to share with you an example that happens here where I live. When European Union started to talk about circular economy, the next step was talking about plastics, and the law that forbids plastic bags here in Spain started. I don't know how long it was. I think it was more or less 10 years ago. 10 years ago, there was the public the law that in 10 years later, the plastic bags, they are going to be forbidden. But no one cares about it. So what happened in my region, for example, where I live, in the next the 15 years that mine, there are 3 families that its work was to sell plastic bags. This was a familiar business. They were selling plastic bags for businesses, shops, and malls. with their logos and their images, and they, from one day to another, they discovered that they are going to be forbidden to sell them. I was really surprised to see them at the news and local news. They were really, really suffering and crying about their business that was going to disappear because they didn't have thought that plastic bags could be forbidden in any time. So that's why I tried to recommend you to check check the news, check sometimes what there are other people talking about. Think about what other NGOs are doing, because now world has changed so much that when NGOs and people talks about something and cares about something, it's easier now than before to have a trend that ends in a government policy to cover this trend. So look at your own surroundings, look the information that you got, look the NGOs, the newspaper. Google loves you all when you search. So try to discover as much as you can. I know that it's hard to have all the information. Sometimes I use some web application like Reader. I used to use Google Reader before it closes, but try to find something that helps you to receive all the information, because there are a lot of organizations. You really will be surprised about how many organizations are that used to publish reports and informations about a lot of different social and environmental trends. So the next step that you have, it's you have first your business, what's going on about it, and then your surroundings and what things that they're going to be, and what things are going to happen that could affect it. So the next step is I saw you here before. The next step, I think I told you that you can do it in any order there, okay? Sometimes it's because I'm used to do this step, the blue part, and then this pink part. But you can do first the pink and then the blue as you prefer, okay? But the blue part is almost the same as the traditional business model canvas. As you see, you have to talk about your clients and its relationships and the channels. And the difference here is that you have to consider not only your clients, you have to consider all the stakeholders. And which one are the stakeholders? The stakeholders are the people that could be or should be affected by your businesses in positive or negative ways. You have to consider both. And first approach of this, and sometimes is the thing that I first ask and talk about when I work with this map with big companies, are their own human resources. The people that works in their companies are the first stakeholders to be considered. Usually the companies, the biggest ones, more often thinks about their shareholders, the people that put the money on, and the investors. But they have to think they are not only the people that are going to be affected by the business. You have to think about the people that's working with you, and more if you are the business owner. So because not only the people that's working with you who's going to be affected, it's also the family of the people that's going to work with you. You don't know how important is the salary or the wages that you are giving to them, to the family where they become from. So you have to think first of them in them. The other kind of stakeholders that you will going to find are, for example, governments, organizations, green and environmental and social organizations, and work with the people and environment. Sometimes you'll find that clients, not only your clients are going to be your stakeholders, also people that are not your clients, but they are interested in the things that you do. They're interested in them. For example, if you have a blog about I don't know, travel, for example, and you organize sustainable travels, for example. I know now I'm working with a project with it. You have a great blog and you put information about traveling, about sustainable traveling. The people that reads your blog is not your client yet. Could be, should be, but it's not it. But they are stakeholders too, because they are interested and they are affected about what are you doing. And if you design, or your business is about to do something about helping other people, that there are a lot of sustainable and social businesses that work in that way, sometimes the clients is the ones that we give the money and pay for your services, but the people that receive the benefits, they are not. That happens for a lot of NGOs, or like, for example, Action Against Hunger. The clients, the real clients, the people that give the money, they are not in hunger, but they're going to. But the people that are going to receive the benefits are the people that this organization is going to help. So those are stakeholders too. So you have to think in your clients. That's good. That's why I say here in the presentation. But you have to consider all your stakeholders, and you have to consider and think in them at the same way as your clients. You have to know who are they. You have to know how are you going to interact and contact with them, and how are you going to how your relationship is going to be. It's going to be more direct, more indirect. They are going to talk directly with you, or when they, for example, had a problem or want to ask to something about your business, they are going to talk with a machine. Now that WhatsApp, for example, that WhatsApp's robots and that appear in the web pages, they are try to look like they are people, but they're really machines. So it's a really a thing to consider. How are these tools are we going to be used to talk with your stakeholders? And after that, it's a lot. I know it's a lot. That's why we do this with a program in 4 or 5 days usually. The things you have to do, well, that's a tool that I think that most of you know, is the empathy map. It's used usually with clients, but you can use it with your stakeholders too. You have to think what they need, what they empathize with, what they hear, what they see. It's more or less like the strands of your business with social and environmental trends, but thinking in people, in just one person. I don't know if you have worked with this tool before. I recommend it to you if you haven't, because it helps you to understand better what your client is and how your business is going to help them. And with stakeholders, works amazingly well. You have to try it again with your stakeholders. And the next part is with who. I found that, and that quote, a single leaf working alone provides no shade. When we work with sustainability and with social projects or environmental projects, doing things alone is really, really, really hard, because sustainability is an holistic concept that implies a lot of things, a lot of problems, and having no one to help us could be really challenging if we want to work with it. So what we have to find, and that's this part. I didn't know I'm talking too fast. If I'm too fast, just stop me, okay? Sometimes happens to me that I start talking and talk too fast. That's this one, the pink part. That's about your key partners. Sometimes when people ask me about what a key partner is, I don't use the normal definition on the business model canvas. I tend to say that there are partners that if you don't have them, your business is not going to grow. Your business is not going to work. If they disappear, your business should disappear, or would be disappearing soon. So you have to analyze them and try to find them. Sometimes I discover with my clients is that they are scared to find partners. They are scared about sharing. If you work or live in Spain, it's scarier, more scarier, because here in Spain we think that if we share, we are going to lose. We never think about if we are going to share, we are going to win, both win. You have to find partners that work with you, help you, and both win. That's the perfect partner that you are going to find, and that's the kind of partner that you need to find. So don't be scared. Try to share. Try to find your perfect partner and become key partners together, one from another, and both business will grow. So you have to think about not only your business partner, you have to think your social partner and environmental partner too. And sometimes you will be lucky, and you could find the partner that would help you with three parts: business and the money part, the sustainable part, and the social part, and that would be amazing. But it happens. I have clients that they they are proof that happened. And I don't know to say the last part. The last part, I think, is the hardest part here, because now you're thinking about your business, about your clients, the people that surrounds your business, and more or less that part is easier because you know your business. But now, to how to transform all this information in sustainable strategies and how to develop your business with a sustainable point of view, it's to analyze the aspects and the impacts that your business have. I'm going back again. Sorry for here. The tool here, that's why we put it in the lowest part here in red. I don't know if you can see it well, but if you watch closely, you can see that the icon here, the same as the icon here, and this one is the same as this one, and those here are the same as those here. Why? Because in this part, we have to think about all the clients and stakeholders that we have thought about, all the relationships that we have with them, all the channels that we have, our key partners, activity, and key resources. And with the things that we've put here, and we have analyzed here in the first part, and in the trends, we have to discover or check or identify the impacts that we have. I think the things that we have put here are the aspects, and now we have to analyze the impacts. We have to use one sticky note for each impact that we find. And I have to put it bigger. Don't forget the impacts can be positive, okay? Sometimes when we thought about the impact word, the first thing that we think is that impact is a negative thing. Impacts could be positive, and we have to find both negative and positive impacts. If we could find both, sometimes there aren't going to be any impacts, okay? Don't worry, don't think that you have to cover all the red parts. Sometimes the way you use your channels, for example, won't have any impacts, or maybe your key partners or your key activities won't have any impacts. Just to try to find as much as you can, but don't be worried about not finding anyone, and because sometimes there are going to be impacts here. So when you find them, the easy way to find them is that's why I put here the cause effect aspects, the things that first thought in the first part, the clients, the relationships, and those things are the causes. And which is the effect? We have to think about the effect. The effect will be the impact. So you have here some examples. For example, the easiest one, energy consumption. It's impossible to have a business without energy consumption, I think. At least you need a computer to work. So you're going to, the aspect is energy consumption, and it could be in your key resources, for example, and the impact that you're going to receive the use of natural resources. Another example here, you have recycled paper, and you use recycled paper. So you are going to have a positive impact here, because you are not going to use as much as raw materials that you will be using if you use new and white paper. Another example, just to be looking more for the social part, it's a low wage. If you have employers with low or employees with low wages, uh, you're going to rise inequality. It could be amazing if you investigate a little about what happens in a country with wages are low in all the country. The usual thing is that have low wages, and what happens when a country decides to reduce the minimum wage, for example, to the people, because they think there are a lot of studies that found that if you low wages in a country or you reduce the minimum wages, uh, instead of the thing that governments used to think that they are going to have more money to work and they're going to be to have want to use to other things and the things. The studies find that and discovers that they are going to rise inequality. They are going to have more problems in health. They are going to discover that you are going to have more problems in education. And when you have problems in education, you are going to have I don't know the word now. You are going to have future employees with less qualification, and the economy of all the country is going to low. So it's going to be surprising, but you have to check what happens when small social changes are decided by governments and what happens with all the country. So try to think, if you analyze them, you could be the small part. What happens if I do social changes in my business, and what is going to happen? I don't put high wage because everyone in high wage thinks in your business that you are going to have more productive workers and more happy people, and it's better for the business. I think it's better to think what's going to happen if you do the things wrong, just to just in case to don't do it wrong. So after you do this cost effect analysis, you have to think, and that's a big and hard part of thinking, which one of those impacts you are going to consider. Why which one? Because it's really, really impossible to work with all the impacts at the same time that you're going to find. And if you try to work with all of them at the same time, you'll become crazy, you'll become desperate, and you'll think that you can do anything, and also most of you are going to be like you're a bad person because you can do all the things that you need. So the thing that I used to say to businesses is do it slow, finding which one is the most important for you, which one has the higher impact, or which could be the most easy for you to solve at the beginning. And when you solve this one, then try with the others if you can or if you want. So in this part, that's how the map would look like. You put the impacts here, and what are you going to do is in the middle part. Sometimes, as I tell you, you are going to do nothing, and you don't have to care about doing nothing, okay? So when you have this impact, solutions, or response, what are you going to do? Clear. We have everything in the map more or less complete, unless the central part, the value, this value proposition, but thinking in triple bottom line. You have to use the answers here to create the value proposition here. With the things that you're going to do here. And when you reach this point, you will know your business as much as you can. And you would be surprised about a lot of things that you have learned about your business just doing this tool. Try to define your value proposition not only with the traditional value proposition is I do this thing for that type of clients, and we are going to solve these issues. More or less, they are the structure of a traditional value proposition. Now we have to change it and to transform it. I'm going to do this and this because our business is about these things, and we care about our stakeholders that are those ones, And we know that that environmental trend or that social trend is going to happen, and we know that they are worried about it. So the things that I'm going to do are, and then add your impacts or solutions response. And then you have a wonderful value proposition that would take into account economical, social, and environmental trends at the same time. Uh, the last part, sometimes in workshops, we don't have time to do it, is the cost structure and revenue streams that are exactly the same as the business model canvas, but you have to think about not only the economical costs and revenues, almost the social and environmental cost and structure and revenue streams, pardon. So in this one, the difficult part that you are usually having is to have or how to know the environmental costs or the social costs. Just check your social, your environmental trends. When you check them, you'll find that your social costs they are going to be already here and here. The same with the environmental costs. You're going to find that if you use, you find here that environmental trends and your impact assessment, for example, here in resources that you use too much energy, you are going to find that your environmental cost that you're going to use too much energy. And that could be a problem in the future when you have to pay for it. And when for example, a trend that's going on now is the electricity prices is going to be higher and higher each year because we have a lot of problems to create energy now. So it would be both economic and environmental aspects would be affected by this trend, and you'll find it here. And also the revenue stream. That's I put it here already to become more positive. We will have economic revenue, of course, because we are going to have a business, but we're going to have and create social and environmental revenue. And we have to be proud of it. And we have to work with it and show it to the people and to the clients and to our stakeholders and to everyone. We don't have to be shy about what good things that we do. So we have to put it there. And I'm done. I think I've talked too much. You have my contact down here, my email, my Twitter, personal Twitter, and the Twitter of the company I work with, working and own and everything. And if you have any questions, I'll check the chat if you have anything.
Okay, thank you so much, Paula. That was very educative. So I had a question about the partners because you spoke about how important it is to find the right partners, and also that sometimes we are afraid um, to create partnerships. So how do you have some tips for finding the right partners, for identifying the right companies to partner with?
I think that the first thing to find your right partner is to be honest and to be transparent with the things that you do, because if you are not honest with the other part wouldn't be honest with you, and then would be a lot of big problems. And sometimes and I've been finding it in most of times with people that are starting their own business, that sometimes they are shy, that they have just started, they only have one or two clients, and they are scared about asking a big or huge company or organization about being a partner. You don't have to be shy. You have to try it. It's probably they would say no, but maybe you can in the future ask them again as you grow, and then they'll know, oh, they talked about with me 3 years ago, last year, 2 years ago, and now they've become interesting. So don't be shy about it, and just ask and show the things that you want to do, and be honest with the things that you're going to do in your business, the real thing. For example, if your business is about to collect information or data about people doing whatever, don't tell it. You're going to do different strategies to have the information, to have the data or something. And you have to be honest and tell, okay, my business is about getting data about people, or my business is about this, and we are going to do this one, this one, this one, this one. Ideas are a lot, but this is the people who who takes them and who creates them, who can be the difference between a business that works and business that doesn't. So you don't have to be afraid of someone stealing my idea, for example, if you find a partner or that kind of things, because ideas, there are a lot, millions, and a lot of people have thought the same idea as you've got. So don't be scared and just share. So that rhymes.
Yeah, that's very true. Does anyone have any questions for Paula?
I would like to, can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Hi, Paula. Thank you very much for this masterclass. I'm very surprised you are from Oviedo, the same I am, which is a very nice little village in the north of Spain. So very nice to know that you're working from there to measure carbon footprint for companies. And I would like to know if have you developed or are you planning to develop more like calculators, not only of carbon footprint, but for measuring your level of business model sustainability or something related to how to measure
Yes, that's going
business
to be my
model.
next project. Now, that's a bit complicated to explain it, but then we are going to have started to think about how to develop those calculators. The the calculator of carbon footprint that we made, it was the first step to create a biggest one calculator to take into account all the sustainability impacts and aspects for companies. But the carbon footprint it was the easier one to start. So the next step is to add different aspects and different points and different measures to help companies to have their own calculation and to help them to achieve their own objectives about sustainability.
Because as far as I know, the sustainable objectives for the worldwide agenda 2030 can measure something similar to that, but it's still very complicated and very like not easy peasy going forward and
Yeah.
get easy feedback to implement in a business model. It's more for very established companies.
Yeah, that's
So
the thing that's why I create the map, the sustainability mapping toolkit. It was because sometimes small businesses find difficult to discover which ones were their sustainability issues. Sometimes they only think about waste because it's the easiest thing to think about, and some of them think about consumption, water consumption, electricity consumption, and we also do workshops to any kind and size of business to help them to use the tool and to find how they are going to what is going to be to happen to their business in the next 5, 10, 15 years. They have to think about it because they have a lot of problems now with climate change, and we have a lot of problems with social issues related to climate change, for example, and they don't know about it.
And just to finish, I totally agree with you that the base of a sustainable business model, it's also very deep inside the company and the wages and the way we work with our collaborators or employees. Like that's the core of a business sustainable model, totally. So nice to be aligned with you in that.
We have
Thank
to
you
have
very
a
much.
coffee sometimes. If you live
Yeah,
here.
a sidrina, of course.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Julieta. Hi, Ibrahima. You're welcome. Any other questions before we close?
Hi, sorry.
Hi,
Hi.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, Anna, yes.
Okay, perfect. So I have a question. If you recommend or you know any tools to measure the impact for small organizations, because I know that big corporations they report their impact annually, or maybe probably right now they have to do it. And if are there any tools or available things online that I could use for a startup?
I don't think there's anyone about thinking for small business or startups. The things that I used to recommend is to create your own tool, and it's easy. It's really easy to create your own tool with an Excel or
Okay.
a Google Sheet page. Really easy, because you in a startup you don't have to think and you don't have to take in account too many business things and too many financial things, for example. Usually there are small things to just to check. The difficult part is not working with information, is having the information.
Okay.
And it's more a study for you than for the business and inside the business, that having a tool to help you.
Okay.
Good indicators. You have to find good indicators. If you can find them and create them, most of you create your own indicator. It could be easier.
Okay. Okay.
We
Thank
can
you.
talk if you want to ask me about it, and you can send me an email or something if you want to
Okay,
talk
yes,
about
yes.
it. Because it's too hard to talk about indicators here and in
Yes,
5
of course.
minutes.
Yes, I can imagine that it's also a hard work to decide about the indicators.
Yes.
And the way you measure. So yeah, but thank you for the answer.
Thanks to you.
Hi, Fernando. We can't hear you. I think you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I think you have your the microphone is closed, Fernando.
Hello.
Now. Hello.
Now you listen. My English
Yes.
is
Spanish English.
Spanish.
Don't worry. Just go ahead. We will
Is
understand.
possible or no?
No, you just
Spanish?
speak English and we will understand.
Okay. Si no is no problem. I make one email a Paula.
Okay, no problem.
And make the questions and she speak with this and it's okay.
But if you want to try in English, you can try. There's no problem.
My English is horrible.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe you can say it in Spanish and Paula will translate.
I can translate. So ask in Spanish.
Ask in Spanish and Paula will translate
Okay,
for
vale.
everyone.
Nosotros, Paula, tenemos en marcha una herramienta que generamos impacto en varios sentidos. Generamos impacto social porque promovemos la economía circular con nuestra herramienta y también generamos impacto medioambiental porque eliminamos todo el papel del proceso dentro de nuestra compañía y no solo de la nuestra. Ayudamos a que otros se transformen digitalmente y también ayudamos a que eviten desplazamientos innecesarios.
Vale.
Entonces nosotros, al hilo de lo que vosotros estabais comentando, bogamos y creemos que ahí es, como bien has explicado tú, es parte también del éxito o de la responsabilidad social, ya no solo corporativa, sino como con nuestra sociedad y, y también es parte de nuestra razón de ser.
Vale. Ahora tengo que traducir todo eso. Okay, he just was saying, I will try to resume all the things that he said. His business has a good one and positive impact in both in environmental and social. because they reduce, I don't remember exactly, wages of paper and amount of paper use. I don't know exactly what the business is, so, but they said, he told
The business is an app. It's an
it's
app.
a web app. Oh, okay, it's an app that reduces
It's an
amount
app
of paper.
es una app para la gestión de tu día a día.
Oh, it's okay, my management, daily management.
Tanto a nivel particular como a nivel profesional.
Okay, he has an app about daily management for businesses and for people. And he reduces the amount of paper and I suppose the time that you waste. And he said that he thinks that it's important to have in the core of the business those issues and to consider them as a part of the business. I think more or less that's what he said.
That's
Además,
great. Thank you, Fernando.
Nuestro modelo de negocio empieza precisamente por un árbol, por la necesidad de nuestro socio y fundador que él tenía para la gestión de su día a día en el mantenimiento de los árboles, que él se dedicaba a la gestión del arbolado.
Oh, unit translation, I think. He said that his app started with a tree, because they started with the needs that their founder had about managing his or their own trees. So that's why he started.
Nice. Thank you for sharing, Fernando. That's great.
Bye.
Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. This has been very educative for me because I didn't initially know so much about sustainability and the environment. It's something that I've been learning a lot about recently. So it was really great to hear from you, Paula, and to hear all your views, Anna, Julieta, and Fernando. Yes, so as always, we will share the recording in the community, and then you can always refer to it and any other resources that Paula shares with us. Thank you all for joining. Thank you so much, Paula, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Before you close, I'm going to put in the chat if you want to download the map. The first one link is in Spanish and the second one is in English. So you can download it, the tool to have it in both languages. So there's in the chat, sustoolkit.com or sustoolkit.es if you want it in Spanish.
Great.
Wow, great.
It's free to download, so
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Have a
Thank
great
you
day,
very much.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.